Hey guys, today's video is going to be on this 14 horse opposed twin Briggs and Stratton engine. We're going to be putting a new starter on it. I'm going to hook it up first to show you what this one's doing. This one, it just drags a little bit, but it really drains the battery down to jump start when I use it. So I'm going to put a new starter on there. That should make it a little easier to start too, because it'll crank faster. This is a new starter I'm going to be putting on it. You can see how these mount. Bolts go in through the top compared to the traditional Briggs starter. The bolts on the side like this. These are a lot easier to do because your two bolts are basically underneath the flywheel on these. I'm going to show you a trick to getting the starter off and getting the bolts out without removing the flywheel. What it usually does, it'll kind of go one time and get stuck on compression, then it takes off. But it really uses a lot of juice. You see how it did there, it just kind of turned it once there. It does that every time, like that. It just gets kind of annoying after a while, and like I said, it really drains the battery down too, so I guess we'll go ahead and get started on it. Now you see I got to take the hood and everything off here, which on this one you just got like two bolts here and a couple bolts on the bottom, but they're all different, so I'm going to skip this from the video. There will also be two more videos following this one. Second video is going to be on replacing the coil on this, and the third one is going to be replacing the solenoid. I'm going to redo everything. It's electrical on it. I'm replacing the coil on it because when it gets hot or you run out of gas while you're cutting grass, it don't want to start back up again. I checked it for spark and it lost spark until it cooled down and it got it. So it's a weak coil breaking down on it. So we'll replace the coil on the second video here. I just making separate videos, making videos easier to find for y'all. Okay, as you can see with the hood removed, you can get to everything on it. Now you got to take the flywheel cover off. Your starter's over here. As you can see, you can't get to none of the bolts or nothing the way they made these. This is the fuel line coming through here. To get the flywheel cover off, there should be about 8 bolts. One here, 2 here. If yours has this shield, it's held on to another bolt here, and the same thing on the other side. Like I said, this is your ground wire, so you just have to remember to hook that back up. And it's basically the same thing over here. You got one bolt here. I don't know if you can see it or not. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. And you got these two here. On these shields, your bottom bolt will hold that, so you can just let this fold out. And you got to take there's another bolt here. And you got your 2 screws that hold your oil fill tube on there. Just take them off, and this oil fill tube will just bend a little bit out of the way, or you can remove it, whatever you want to do. And your flywheel cover just lifts right off the motor. All these bolts are 7/16 drive. And when you go to tighten these back up, don't get them super tight because they're just going into aluminum. They're going into your aluminum block. If you strip it out, you'll have to drill it out and tap it to a bigger size. It's also a good time to check to make sure your battery cables aren't corroded. As you can see, there's just a little bit of rust on here, nothing to worry about. And check your bolt. If you leave your mower outside, these bolts tend to rust up a lot. So I'll go and get the rest of these bolts out, then we'll take this cover off. And it's got these 2 screws that hold your oil tube on. You got a little metal bracket here that will come off, but it just goes right back on. It'll be a good time to replace your tube gasket down there. You can see this bracket here just lifts off and it just pushes right back in. You can just leave the bracket on and just let that fold out of the way. It'll be fine. That's all you gotta do. After you get all your bolts out and your tube loose, you have to get these wires out of the way. The flywheel cover just lifts right off like this. And just set it off the side. You also either find your model number on here somewhere stamped in the metal, or in this case it's stamped on the shield here on the side. That's where you look up your number to get your parts. You can go right to Briggs and Stratton website, run your model type and code numbers on there, and it'll bring you up a complete parts list of it. Okay, now we'll get ready to change the starter. You can see this first bolt's easy to get to, no problem at all. But the second one's all the way back here underneath the flywheel. These are 1/2 inch drive bolts. Like I said, this first one's easy to get to, no problem at all, but the other one's a little harder to do. They're pretty long bolts too, not super long. Let's see here, we got a washer on here, lock washer. Okay, you can see the other bolt way back in there. Basically all you gotta do is wrench it. So I got the box end of the wrench on there just to break it loose. It broke loose like that. And use the open end of the wrench to get it to where you can loosen it by finger. But once you get it broke loose, you just kind of reach back in there and use your 2 fingers to loosen it all the way. And once I get it loose, I'll show you what to do. Okay, I got the bolt all the way loose. The starter's basically just sitting there, not much holding it right now. And just move it like that, and you get your bolt out of it, and you get your starter off. Now you gotta unhook your wire. It may be easier for you to unhook the wire first, but on this one I can't because I've had the starter off before. Because I tried to fix the starter. I reseated the brushes in it and cleaned everything. It didn't make any difference at all. But this nut's seized on there, so I'm going to have to cut this off to salvage my wire. And but ordinarily you just use a 7/16 wrench to loosen the outer nut, and your wire will come right off. As you can see, this starter's in pretty rough shape. I did put new gear on it. Like I said, I'm going to keep this starter. So if I ever get another starter at maybe the drive broke or something on there, I can take 2 starters and make one. Alright guys, here's a side by side. I done measured the housing. The housing's the same. These are available in different housing lengths. This is a pretty universal starter. I'll put the number in up here for this. As far as I can tell, this starter will cover all the opposed twin Briggs. And then possibly a V-twin, I think. I'm not for sure on that. I think it's mainly opposed twins on these. But what I do to save a lot of money with starters and stuff like this, I don't buy a Briggs and Stratton starter. With a genuine Briggs and Stratton starter, it's going to cost you more than $100, somewhere around there. I got this starter off eBay, brand new, aftermarket brand for 30 bucks, but the price will probably vary some, depending on which one you want. And if you want a heavy duty starter, it's like $10 more. I think this is probably a heavy duty starter because the end's different on it. This is your old style, and this one actually has like a bearing in it, so that's actually better there, I think. This one came with a gear on it too, so you can make a fool with that. You might want to spray this down a little bit of WD-40. The way it's got some oil in there, help keep it from sticking later on. Just makes everything last a little longer. And you also might want to make sure the top of these posts where the starter mounts is nice and clean, because that is where it gets its ground from and from the bolts. So if that's corroded or something, you'll lose a little bit of current going to it. And this is in good shape, so I don't have to fool with it on this, but just something to look out for. It's also a good idea to make sure all your cooling fins are clear on both sides. That way, if grass or a mouse or something decides to build a nest in here and it plugs it up, you'll burn your engine up. And you can see through all these fins here, so we're good on this. So I'm going to get this starter put back in there, and basically you're going to get your bolt, get it in here like this. And basically it comes out the same way you put it in there. I'm not going to be able to show it on camera here because I can't get a good angle with my camera. But once I get it in here, I'll show you tighten that bolt back up. But it's pretty simple, really. I mean, you just gotta wiggle it around enough to get it past the flywheel. But okay, like I said, you basically just gotta finger tighten this like this until you get it down, where you'll be able to get a wrench on it. And once you get it most of the way down, you can go ahead and get this one started in there. And get them both tight, and it's good to go once you get your wire hooked up. If you have a ratchet wrench small enough, it'd be a good time to put it to use. And you just tighten it up all the way. I'll go ahead and get this one tight. It don't have to be real tight because you're just going into aluminum, but you don't want it to work loose either. Get pretty snug. There's probably an actual torque spec on it, but I don't know what it is right offhand. So I'm going to go and get that back bolt tight, and we'll get back to you and hooking that up. And you just take this outer nut off here. Put your terminal in there. And you don't want to get this bolt very tight at all because you're just going into plastic. I know the end cap's metal on these, but they're still plastic. Like you can see the plastic grommet there that holds it. So you have to watch that. So this one's spread out a little bit where I cut into it. But that's how you put it back on there. Now let's do a test start and see what she does. Alright guys, you can see I got the same setup. I bolted the wire back on there temporarily. And we'll make sure all your wires and stuff are clear. Yeah, it's definitely starting a lot better. You've seen it dragged a couple times, but you've seen some smoke right here. I think I don't have a good enough connection on here too. That's not helping things any. But it's definitely cranking better. Faster too. It seems like it's cranking a little faster. Okay, now we're ready to put the flywheel cover back on. You pretty much do it backwards the way it came off. The only tricky part over here is getting it in between the shield right. I would like to get one in the front that helps to line up the whole thing. Don't tighten y'all yet, just get them started. You only get about one started on the side, just to help line it up. Make sure your fuel line's not in the way here. Make sure none of these go in cross-thread because it's real easy to do. And the hardest part on this is getting this back shield to line up. You got to go through, your bolt has to go through this and this into the block. So that's the only hard part of that. You kind of got to wiggle everything around. You feel it go in like that. Get about as tight as a spark plug. Don't take much. And once you do that all the way around, you're pretty much done. You gotta put your two little screws back in your dipstick tube over here, which is they came out just like they go in, but just like they came out, so it's pretty simple there. And you're pretty much done once you get your hood back on and reconnect any wires that you may have disconnected. This one's got a little bracket that goes through one of the holes back here. Yep, guide the wires through. But yep, that's pretty much it. So if you got any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And stay tuned for the second video on replacing the coil and the third video on replacing the solenoid. So, thanks for watching guys, we'll catch you on the next one.